Many people have tried to use Facebook or Twitter to supplement a marketing campaign for the small business that they own or the organization that they work for. It's only natural that we'd want to see a quick return of investment from them. But according to entrepreneur and social media guru Gary Vaynerchuk, if this has been your approach, you've been going about it all wrong. Think of boxing. To a person who doesn't really understand it, it would seem like just random, mindless, bloody blows. But to someone who does understand it, it's strategy all the time. In fact, boxing is often compared to chess for the amount of strategic thinking that it requires. And as Vaynerchuk explains, while the one big right hook usually gets all the credit for the win, it's actually the subtle ring movements and well-planned jabs that come before it that set a fighter up for success. For a long time, marketeers could only rely on television, radio, and print to effectively tell their stories. Then came web page ads and emails. Not everyone needs to be convinced that now social media can be a useful marketing tool. There are fewer and fewer holdouts left who would argue that social media is unimportant for business, especially when 1 in 4 people say they use social media sites to inform their purchasing decisions. But by now, most understand that having at least a rudimentary Facebook page and Twitter account is critical for brand visibility and credibility. You can't win a fight unless you lace up your boxing gloves and step into the ring. That is the first step. Round 1, the setup. Next, you must remember why people use social media in the first place. Because it's fun. Social networking lights up people's dopamine pathways in the pleasure centers of their brains, writes Vaynerchuk. If we want to talk to people while they consume their entertainment, we have to actually be their entertainment, melding seamlessly into the whole experience, he writes. So don't just put a direct pitch. It's not like you have to post every day or as much as possible. You can also just plan and pick certain events. Like when the power suddenly went out during the second half of the Super Bowl between the San Francisco 49ers and Baltimore Ravens. And as soon as the lights went out, Nabisco's opportunistic social media team jumped onto the moment, quickly producing and tweeting out an ad that read, "Power out, no problem," with a starkly lit image of a solitary Oreo cookie and the cheeky caption, "You can still dunk in the dark." Nabisco's message caught on almost immediately, getting nearly 15,000 retweets and more than 20,000 likes on Facebook. Pretty impressive numbers, but none of this happened by accident. The company had a 15-person social media team ready to talk about whatever happened at the Super Bowl. So one thing is to be ready. The other thing is, if you're looking for a blueprint as to what to write, unfortunately, that blueprint doesn't exist. Social media storytelling is as sweet a science as boxing, requiring constant experimentation and hours of observation. The main thing to remember is that when you jab, you're not overtly selling anything. Share a moment, build a relationship with them before pitching in anything. So that was round 2, jabbing with great content. It's important to understand that every social media platform is unique and requires a unique formula. What works on Facebook won't necessarily work on Twitter, explains Vaynerchuk. Getting people to hear your story on social media and then act on it requires a platform's native language, paying attention to context, understanding the subtle nuances that make each platform unique, and adapting your content to match. This also means ensuring that whatever content you are developing is equally well suited for mobile as well as desktop devices. Content is king, but context is God, writes the author. You can put out good content, but if it ignores the context of the platform on which it appears, it can easily fall flat. This is round 3, jabbing in the right language. So say you want to target a post for 30 to 45-year-old married women with college degrees who speak French and live in California and post it on New Year's Eve. When you know how to use Facebook properly, you can do that. This is about targeting and frequency. No online marketeer worth his salt would ignore the 2 most popular social media platforms, Facebook and Twitter, because that's where majority of the eyeballs are today. It makes perfect sense to invest most of your jabbing resources on these 2 sites. But you must also consider investing in platforms that may come up in the future. This takes us to the next point, round 4, jabbing on next generation platforms. Finally, here's another thought to leave you with. Remember when you were a kid and asked your mom for ice cream? Most of the time she'd say no, but every now and then, totally out of the blue, she would say yes. Why? Because earlier that day you probably did something to make her feel happy or proud, and when you asked her for ice cream, she was emotionally primed to say yes. As a marketeer, when you have the sense that you may have actually delivered something of real value to one or more of your prospective customers, that's when it's time to throw the right hook, that is, to close the deal. It's almost like normal psychology. It's strategy. It's not just jabbing randomly, it's a game of chess.